Welcome to Chopping It Up, a podcast powered by Journey, where we talk about freight, how people got to where they are, and their career journeys, pun intended. All right, let's chop it up. Hello and welcome to Chopping It Up. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey, and today I'm joined by Sarah Hanna and Masud of the Competum Collective. How are we doing?
Good.
Great. How are you, Will?
Wonderful. I'm doing well. It's fun to be able to sit down and jam with you guys. I always appreciate the support. You guys are very, very supportive of Journey and what we're building here, and it's really cool to see what you guys have been able to build at Competum. So I'm excited to dive in. It's going to be a good time. As we get started here, I'd love to do like a 10,000 foot overview of your background. So we'll start with Sarah and then go over to Megan. But Sarah, give me like a quick 10,000 foot overview of your background.
Yeah, so prior to Competum Collective, I was pretty much in dispatching the very first year of my college year. So I got hired as a dispatcher for a little small time food delivery company, and they were local in San Diego. So it was really fun to kind of dive in right away in that career space. And then from there, that opened the door to many of my other positions as well. So then I got hired in Chicago, which kind of changed the trajectory of my entire logistics career as an operations specialist for a maintenance company. So my very first account was 7-Eleven. So there was no like looking back from there. They kind of fed me to the wolves, and that was kind of how I got just inundated into the industry. Then after that, I got stolen over to Uber Freight as an account manager. And that's kind of where my journey in account management started. And then they started, experimenting with the hybrid of sales and account management. And then that's where actually Megan and I met, was in the elevator of our apartment building in South Loop. So, God would have it so that I would meet my future business partner over in our apartment building. So then after that, we kind of split ways for a few years, and then we kind of met up at another 3PL brokerage, which was a great, happenstance. So that she messaged me and was like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "Thank goodness you're here." Seeing your best friend after so long. So it was really, really nice to see. I had moved back to San Diego because I'm from California originally. And then after that, I told her, you know what, I'm sick of just talking about starting something. Let's do something that makes a true difference in carriers' lives. And so Competum was kind of born because of that.
That's awesome. You gave us a cool fun fact. What's your fun fact for everybody?
This is definitely not exclusive to me, but I'm such a night owl, and Megan will tell you that. She'll call me at 6 a.m. in the morning because it's 8 a.m. her time and tell you that Sarah's not up yet, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I get a lot of stuff done from the hours of 12 a.m. to 2 a.m., but I try my best to get a good night's sleep no matter what. So see bags under my eyes, that's why.
We are the exact opposite. I am an early bird, so I will be snoozed early and up early. Megan, give us a quick rundown of your background, and then we'll dive into your fun fact and learn a little bit more about y'all.
Yeah, so I started off my career out of college working in consumer electronics, worked for Samsung for a little bit as a market trainer, moved out to Chicago, and then finally got the experience and got hired at Uber as well, where I started working on the rideshare side, which was really interesting, getting to work with a lot of the livery plated drivers, which I learned had to have CDLs, and started to learn kind of the ropes about logistics and drivers. And that's where I had the opportunity to move my skills over to Uber Freight, which is where I worked on the carrier side, where having carriers learn how to adopt loads, book loads digitally. And from there, once I left Uber, it was really kind of back to the drawing board, because I really wanted to figure out what I wanted to do, but I was still kind of going from brokerage to see okay, this is the competitor. Let's learn what they did. So I went to Coyote for a little bit, and then kind of hopped around until me and Sarah met and we just kind of were oh my God, you're here. Let's find something that we love to do in the logistics space that we love, which is mental health and helping carriers at the end of the day. And that's how Competum was founded.
That's awesome. What's your fun fact?
My fun fact is that I always get a haircut at least once a week. As you can see, always fresh, looking clean.
Wow.
You know, you gotta get a good haircut to feel good.
Look, you know, Deion Sanders back in the day said, "Look good, feel good, play good, pay good." So it makes sense.
I love that.
Love that.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to learn a little bit more. We'll go Megan and Sarah, just like early life stuff before we got into school, before we got into freight. Like, what did you like to do? What were you doing before you were building a business?
Yeah, so I'll start. My childhood was a great childhood. I grew up in Florida, born and raised, loved the beach, loved the lake, my family was really involved with the community. So that was really exciting to have that kind of support around you. And then I would say I was such a squirrel. I had an incident or an accident when I was younger where I had a TBI in high school. So that really changed kind of how I navigated my childhood. And so with that, it kind of brought challenges that I had to face early on. And I think that's what's made me who I am today. And people will tell you, Sarah tells you, that I'm a squirrel. I'm always looking for the next thing. But that's just how I operate. And I've learned to embrace that.
That's awesome. It's always cool to learn a little bit about people's backgrounds and whatnot. But, you know, there's a lot of things that we've been through that shape who you are and the things that you gravitate towards. So it's cool to learn a little bit more about that for you. Sarah, how about yourself?
Yeah. Megan's definitely a squirrel. That's what I love about her. But my background, pretty simple life I had growing up on the West Coast here. Monterey, California is where I was born and raised. My parents are both immigrants, so they worked extremely hard for everything that they had and kind of showed me what it was like to really have your head down and stay focused, especially when you don't really have that support here. They didn't have any family here whatsoever, so it was all up to both of them to kind of pave the way for my brother and I to like make sure that we had everything that we needed to feel supported. But I definitely took life on the West Coast for granted. Growing up in Monterey, California on the coast was something so special that I think looking back on it now, it shaped who I was for sure, because it's such a small town that I never really thought too far into the future. I always say if I told my 10-year-old self what I was doing now, she would be extremely proud, because at the time, all I was doing was playing outside in the dirt. All we were doing was building sandcastles on the beach. There wasn't much thought into the next thing that was going on. But I would say very family oriented, very just immersed in the family life. So I had a great upbringing.
What was maybe the first interest for you as a kid, like career wise, something that seemed like it'd be interesting for you while you're growing up?
If I'm being so transparent, I wanted to be a gymnast.
That's cool.
Wow, I love that.
I was so into gymnastics. My mom put me in a gymnastics camp over summer, and it broke my heart because she didn't tell me this until I was in my 20s, because she knew how badly it broke me. But she said, I took you out of gymnastics because I didn't want you to break your neck. And I was like, darn it. That was my bread and butter back then. So I had to pivot. Here we are.
Megan, how about you? What was something that you gravitated towards early?
Yeah, so for me, it was everything. I mean, I won the invention convention, made a dentist dispenser early on in elementary school. So it was one of those things where I think my childhood and what I thought I wanted to be, the options were endless. But ultimately, I think what the first job I wanted to have was an architect, and that was because I love drawing. And then I learned that there's much more to building a high rise than just drawing it.
Totally.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's super cool. So when you think about the career moves that y'all have made, let's maybe kind of pop into the different roles, transportation wise. You've both seen a lot, and now you're building a business today that's aligned with your passions. What are some things that you saw in any of the organizations you were at that helped you start Competum? And then I want to learn a little bit more about Competum and kind of dig into that. So either whoever wants to take it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say how working at Uber, a tech company, especially at that scale, at the time we were there, when Uber Freight just kind of first started, it really opened our eyes to the possibilities and experimentation and taking risks. There were very little no's there. If you had an idea, it was very much received. As long as you had a plan and you had a team behind you that supported that idea, it was pretty much going to be nourished because we had a lot of support. So I would say just given that opportunity was a really, really great way for us to feel empowered. And I would say a big word for us right now is feeling empowered, like screw being safe. Taking risks is kind of like something that we've always tried to do and continue to do.
That's awesome. I have some thoughts there, but I want to hear what Megan has to say.
Yeah, so like she said, Uber really set the tone for the career path that we're on right now. Like its values of having transparency, no hierarchy. Like Sarah Hanna said, like you can bring an idea into the room and everybody wants to know about it. Everybody wants to help you. And it's more than a team. It's a family. It's a culture they created that made you feel that you could be whoever you want to be and be in the area that you want to grow. And for me, when I left Uber, I carried those values with me all throughout the rest of my career. And, you know, even when I was at Coyote, I carried those values over. And what I learned at Coyote was that there's a grind to the business. Like there's a hustle, there's that competition. And that's where I really learned to apply the foundation of what I learned and really learned how to sell it once I got to Coyote.
Those are great lessons. I really like, well, a couple things that Sarah, you mentioned about being empowered with ideas. And now you guys are building a business that's impacting so many drivers. There's so many opportunities to continue to scale that business. But had you been in an organization that maybe squashed ideas or wasn't as open to hear them, I can imagine it might be harder to go and take your entrepreneurial journey. Like when you're part of an organization that's really entrepreneurial, it gives you the confidence to think that you can go do that. And like sometimes you gotta be a little delusional. This stuff is hard, right? You're like, I gotta go out there and do it. But it's good to have had that support early on.
Yeah, definitely. It helped a lot. Delulu or not, like just go for it.
Yeah, you gotta shoot your shot. You gotta do it.
Yeah.
The worst they can say is no.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, like we'll just keep it pushing. It's okay if they say no. It's all good.
Exactly.
Megan, one of the things you mentioned was that grit and the determination thing. I mean, I was at Coyote early in my career, and the people there just worked their absolute tails off, right? And you had to understand the expectation of that. And you were rewarded because if you were willing to put in the work, there's so much opportunity in front of you. But as an entrepreneur, grit's about all you got in the beginning. Like you don't have a brand, you don't have customers, like you just got this dream and this ability to roll your sleeves up and do the work. So that grit is a big deal.
Yeah, that's one of the values at Uber is grit. So that's great that you said that.
So talk to me a little bit about Competum. Megan, I would love to hear just quick overview of it, and then I want to get into the details of the cool work that y'all are doing.
Yeah, so we started about 2 years ago. Sarah came to me with the idea of, hey, like, let's start a dispatching company. And I was like, let's do it. You know, I'm like, we got this. So we started, you know, really kind of with Competum Dispatch, actually. And then as we started to do it, we were just kind of like, is this really where we want to be? Is just kind of like in logistics, managing our own things and not really having an impact. And both of us have always had a passion for the mental health field. And so we tried to figure out how can we kind of put that passion into logistics. And how we figured that out was by essentially just being human to carriers. Like, carriers get drilled on the phone all day long, constantly with calls, and they're always about, questions about not them, how are they doing? It's strictly just about work. And so we came together and said, like, how can we impact carriers' health? And so that's how Competum Collective came about. And I'll kind of let Sarah take it from here.
Yeah, so Competum Collective was kind of born with the idea to intersect mental health along with, the DOT regulations that drivers have to deal with on not just an annual basis, but now on a monthly basis, because they have to do randomized drug testing. And with new regulations coming out annually and sometimes biannually, we have a new English learning proficiency regulation that just recently came out as of November 2024 last year and is being enforced this year. And these are things that, they have to think about now that are on top of, their hours of service, their actual day-to-day jobs, as well as, Clearinghouse just revoked CDLs for any positive entries that these drivers were having. So it's a lot to deal with. And when you look at the compliance piece, no one really thinks about this. I remember, having being in account management in general, it's a lot to deal with. And a lot of things that I dealt with was calling carriers on the phone. It's not just carrier sales that has to call them. It's every single person within the 3PL space. So I was like, how do we make their lives just a little bit easier? And we came up with Competum Collective, which is kind of like a holistic approach to all of this, where they can not only just call us for support with whether it be healthcare, placement, insurance, but also with return to duty, should they have gotten their CDLs revoked, whether it be, just getting set up with an SAP program, substance abuse program. It could be anything. And so we kind of wanted to make sure that these drivers were being supported in ways that they probably don't even think about. So they have a problem and we're just trying to solve it. And a lot of these will continue. Regulations just keep added on and added on. And to keep them compliant, we also want to make sure they're not getting fined. So this is another way that we're just trying to help them in this space.
That's awesome. I spent the first 2 years of my career, and then while we were building Molo, definitely in the trenches of carrier sales and understanding how to have the right carrier partners. But oftentimes I think people disregard the true day-to-day that a driver or an owner of a fleet, what they have to work through. And I am fairly ignorant to all the things that a driver has to work through to be able to be on the road, right? Surface level things, hours of service, and a little bit about the equipment, but man, the average rep I have no clue all the things that a driver needs to do to stay compliant, and then the toll that takes on the day-to-day. It's already a challenging job, but you've got all these hoops to jump through to be able to operate. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about the services, right? If I'm a carrier partner today and I'm looking for what Competum does, what are the services that y'all provide?
Yeah, so the services that we provide are discounted physicals and DOT required drug testing and alcohol, which is the BAT test that they have to do. And we provide all of these services through subscription in our partnerships with Well Now and Physicians Immediate Care throughout the U.S. So they're able to essentially access cost affordable care that isn't going to break the bank. So this also allows carriers to, like Sarah Hanna mentioned earlier, get involved in a SAP program. So, we talk about drivers and what they go through, but, they even go through things like isolation, like being on the road that long. It's not good for your mental health. And a lot of owner operators out there, they don't have benefits, right? Like your average corporate everyday 9-to-5 job. So they have to pay out of pocket for their insurance, which is a steep cost. And so with that, through our membership, they get all these resources in a hub where they can have affordable healthcare options and for the test and physicals that they need done.
I always think to myself when I get a chance to hear really cool new ideas, what in the world were people doing before? You're like, oh, this just makes so much sense. Like, what is somebody doing today if they're not leveraging Competum to keep all these things rolling? Whether I'm a fleet owner or an owner op, I'm a driver in somebody's fleet, like, what's that look like today?
Yeah, so independent contractors, what they have to do is essentially report all of their, well, essentially the actual drug testing facility. If they're DOT certified, which they have to be, they're sending those results to the DOT, right? However, that's just one aspect of their entire compliance package, right? They're having to also, get insurance, get other physicals and stuff too. So you have to go to a different doctor to get a physical. You have to go to a different doctor to do a drug test. We have it all in one space where not only are you going to get these competitive prices, but you're also going to get support when it comes to placement with insurance, return to duty services, if God forbid they need that. But if they get in an accident as well, we're right there, one call away if they need an on-site, because we also partnered with a mobile company that also does drug testing, and she's also DOT certified. So between our two partnerships, we're essentially offering a really competitive price for, what drivers would essentially pay over $150 for all in one go. We're under 120, I think, all in one go. And then with that annual pricing, which is $99 or $10 a month, it's something that you really can't beat if you think about everything that you get.
That's awesome. So what was the, reason for the pivot initially, right? You think about starting as the dispatch side. What was the aha moment where you're like, we can do this, but there's this other thing that we feel is more impactful potentially?
I think for us, that impactful moment was the end of 2024 in November, where the FMCSA came out with, if a carrier tests positive for a substance, that they have the opportunity to go through a SAP program that Sarah Hanna mentioned earlier, which is a substance abuse program to help them return to duty. And for me and Sarah, this is really something that I guess holds close to home. For individuals that are going through, whether it's a mental health crisis or a substance abuse problem, they should be able to have access to have resources to help that situation, and have providers in their pocket that are going to support them all the way through their return to duty. And so when we started looking at the statistics of how many CDLs are revoked in a year due to substance abuse, it really just opened the doors for us. It's the numbers are a little bit cringing, but the good news is Competum's here to help those that are in those situations, and to also create a safe place where if they are struggling, they have somewhere they can come to before an incident occurs. And that's what we really have a passion for, is giving carriers that safe space and giving them that security that if something happens, we're there for them.
What's that look like before something happens? So it sounds like there's something that occurs if someone happens to have an incident and they have to go through the substance abuse program. But what's it look like before? How are you all able to mitigate some of those challenges?
That's a good question. I think understanding what compliance is for drivers is a really huge thing. I feel like educating them is something that they don't really have done for them. Yes, they get a little bit of it once they go through their CDL schooling. And a lot of these schools, they already pay for their drug testing. It's an all-in-one packet, right? So not all of them, but I would say 90% of them. They put them through school, make sure they know how to drive the truck, but also they just kind of let them go on their way. That don't really break down what compliance looks like. And I think us partnering up with these schools would really help give them an opportunity to make sure that, not only are our drivers safe on the road, but they know what they're getting into. Because if they get into a car accident, within 24 hours, they're going to need a drug test. That is going to be mandatory.
Yeah.
And
like
they may not know that. They may not know that. And a lot of them don't know that, right? Because there's a package that drivers should be having in their car, which is, a cup that they would need in order to send it to the drugstore or facilities in order for them to test and to rule out that, they weren't under the influence of anything. So I think, partnering with schools would probably be a really great idea. Partnering with carriers in general, with fleets, and maybe coming in and like presenting to them, like, here are things that you guys can do to prevent, not just not, smoking or drinking or whatever it is, but just being safe and more aware of your surroundings, and also just making sure that they're aware of their rights too, because they deserve lawyers, and we also give access to that as well. If they need to get lawyered up, we do placement for that as well. So there's just a lot of things that compliance is a huge umbrella, and there's so many things that fall under it.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that, Sarah, like even owner operators, right? So like they have to have a DOT policy packet in the event something happens, right? And so fleets, they have an in-house lawyer, they have the compliance team to report for them and their needs. But owner operators, if they were to get audited by the Department of Transportation, they have to have this specific template that typically costs like $300 for an owner operator to go out and get and have it filled out. We do that for our carriers through the membership. So that's just like a small taste of like little nuances that even owner operators, they don't know about until they get into a situation and it's too late, and then their CDL is either revoked or, it's dinged against them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you think about maybe the most fun stuff that you all have done in the last couple of years building this business, what have you enjoyed the most?
Ooh. That's all of it, really. I think the fun part was probably this past winter. Sarah and I was just coming over a knee replacement, so I still had a cane, but we were out there in the trenches in the snow of Chicago, going to CDL schools, visiting carriers, and it was a blast, man. I mean, like getting to know these carriers and like fleet managers, and getting to talk to these people at labs, and getting to know the healthcare side of things. Like people always like in freight, it's like, freight, right? And healthcare, healthcare, but bringing those two worlds together was so fun, and it continues to be fun. And learning the healthcare side of things and just getting to work with all kinds of people has really been exciting, and I enjoy to keep doing it. So
I would say meeting people in general, because I remember telling Megan in the very beginning of our journey, I was like, let's just meet with anyone and everyone, because you can always learn something from someone. And I'm never someone to turn a meeting away just because I don't think, oh, they're not in my space. They don't understand what's going on. They're not understanding what I'm doing. And I think the most fun part has been the networking. Like even getting to know you and Journey, Will, has been such a fun pleasure for me to watch you guys in general. Like I think Competum has flourished the way it has because of our support system. And even my friends who are like, I have no idea what you're doing, but I'm happy for you. I'm like, I get it. You get it.
That's the best part. I feel like that's probably my favorite part of the industry. Massive, but people are very supportive, and you never know who you might meet. There are fantastic relationships that you just come across really good people, and years from now, you'll end up making an introduction, putting two people together, or they help connect you with someone. But it never really starts that way. You just meet good people and build relationships. That's the fun part.
Yeah, so, I think I was going to just say this was pretty cool too. You got me thinking. Yeah. When we actually went out to San Diego, we went out and we got to see actually like a manufacturer of the drug kits, where the drug kits go, how they're all put through like this crazy conveyor belt and like testing like thousands of drug tests like per like couple seconds, where they store it. I mean, it was it was cool. It was like phenomenal to see like behind the scenes what happens once you send a drug test in, and it was very eye opening.
It smelled awful, but it was fun.
It smelled awful, but it was
funny.
pretty cool.
So let's maybe peel some layers back and do some behind the scenes stuff, right? So if I am a carrier partner that leverages Competum today, but do I receive a drug kit? Do I go to the Well Now facilities? Like, talk to me a little bit about how that works. And then what happens, like next steps to continue to leverage the subscription that they get.
Yeah. So essentially, once you subscribe to the subscription, you get instant access to our rates at any physician's immediate care or Well Now, which we currently are open in 6 states nationwide. So that's really exciting.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we just started out with the Chicagoland, and now we've branched out into 6 other states: New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois. So it's over 150 clinics that our drivers can walk into and be serviced by the top providers in the urgent care industry. And we're really excited about that. And they can have access to their DOT physical, their BAT, and their drug test in one appointment. And they can schedule their appointment all digitally. It's through a link that we actually send out. Maybe if you've been to Quest before, gotten lab work done, you get like a passport. So essentially we send out a passport. You go to any clinic you want, and then it's easy from there. And then you get our support in the event like anything happens, you need something, we're there in terms of compliance.
Another thing that I always like to dig into, because I think it helps give perspective, are some of the challenges of building a business. So everything's not roses and butterflies. I go through these bad boys all the time. It's just part of, being out there, being an entrepreneur. So what are some of the more challenging things that y'all have worked through the last couple of years, or lessons that you've learned?
So many lessons have been learned. But I would say like the no's are definitely a huge redirection for us. Pivoting from, selling people and selling carriers and selling to fleets is something different than what I'm used to. She was definitely on the carrier side while I was on the shipper side. So I know from a shipper perspective, but from a carrier perspective, it's very different. So I would say kind of understanding how carriers think was a challenge for me, and making sure that I aligned myself with their needs and kind of things that helped them on the day-to-day. So we did a ton of market research. And like Megan said, that when we were out there at the schools, I was like, oh, wow, okay, these are the problems that they're having. And although what we were selling to them wasn't working for them in that moment, we could shape this into something that could help them in the future. And so we took all of that and kind of created something that turned into this. And I think mobilizing the drug testing was a very huge pivot for us, because a lot of them were like, well, we have the drug testing coming to us. And so that was something that we really took to heart. And we met with a lot of people who mobilized their drug testing, but for whatever reason, we didn't align. And then we did find someone who definitely saw the vision. We need people to see the long-term impact when it comes to these things. It's not short-term gain. We're not looking for a quick buck. We're looking to make something that's lasting. And so Sheena, who is our mobilized drug testing facility, saw the vision, and that's kind of helped us move in this space in that way. So challenges were abundant, but we definitely overcame.
That's super cool. Megan, what about you?
Yeah, I think some of the challenges that we faced were not really knowing the healthcare piece side and how difficult it is when, incidents do occur, and how difficult it is for someone with insurance or without insurance to get into a rehabilitation center. And so we were able to kind of get to talk to some of these treatment centers and build relationships with them. so that we could be able to place carriers if they are in need of an SAP program, and learn the intricacies of that with billing and all of those things. And so, a thing that Competum does offer drivers is like scholarships. So if they don't have insurance in place, we work with treatment centers to be able to scholarship the driver to go to a 90-day program and get treatment.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. It's really cool, having seen this from afar and then getting a chance to spend some time with both of you over the last couple of years to see what you've been able to build. Anything that we should be on the lookout for or fun, up and coming things for Competum?
100%. We just recently expanded into 150 locations. We now have someone in the Midwest that does mobile testing for fleets or post-accident. So you want to be on the lookout for us reaching past New York, Pennsylvania, and the Midwest. We're going to be branching out all across the country to clinics nationwide to be able to provide drivers the same service that they're experiencing now everywhere.
Mm.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on what you've both been able to build. Really, really cool. And I love businesses that have a strong purpose and a meaning. It's very clear that this means a lot to both of you. And I think that makes it a lot easier to push through the challenging times when there's a real reason and a why behind what you're doing. It's very apparent for both of you. Before we go ahead and wrap up, a couple questions. So either of you, favorite book that you have, anything that you're reading currently, either one?
I'll go first. So one of my favorite books that I always kind of go back to, it's not like a one-time read, it's something I used to call my Bible because I would go back to it and read it. It's the Tao of Pooh and the Tale of Piglet. And it's Taoism through the lens of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. And I know it sounds like a children's book, but I swear it's not. Anybody can read it. But it really helps with grounding when I'm in a very stressed out mindset. It really kind of gets me to stop in my tracks and say, okay, you're in this present moment right now. Stay in the present moment, because anxiety is a future fear. It's nothing that's happened yet. So it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I recommend it to anyone, even if you're not feeling, anxious in the moment or stressed out in the moment. It has really, really sweet little golden nuggets of word gold. I think everybody could take something from it.
Awesome. How about you, Megan?
Yeah, recently a book that I read was by a real estate guru named Thomas Bizzuto, The Reflections of an Ordinary Man. Read it in a day. It's a quick, easy book, but essentially it just really talks about how he had an entrepreneurial spirit, and he, put in the time, put in the effort. He failed time and time again until he finally created the community of high rises that he wanted to create. He did it with his support system by his side. And really the whole premise of the book is to just be grateful and stay present in the moment, and everything will come to you. You just have to be present and stay grateful. And the rest is just follow your feet. You don't have to think about it. Just kind of do what you love and everything will fall into place. So that was a quick, easy read that I just recently read.
Solid. Those are two great recommendations that I hadn't heard of, so I appreciate y'all. Where are the best places for people to reach either of you and Competum? Sarah, I'll have you go first, and then Megan, I'll have you go.
Yeah, so you can reach us via social media at Competum Collective, or you can reach us via our website, competumcollective.com. And our names are both pretty simple. It's sarah.hanna and then megan.masud at competumcollective.com. So via email, reachable via our website, social media, and LinkedIn.
Definitely LinkedIn.
Nice,
Always LinkedIn.
Nice. Well, again, I appreciate y'all spending some time today with us on Chopping It Up. Amazing to see what you've been able to build, and I'm excited about your future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Awesome. See you.